gentlemen, welcome to yet another edition of Economic Briefcase on Camlet TV. I'm your host, Luminda Havazoka. Today in the studio with me is a co-host, somebody that I last saw exactly 1 week ago when he was telling us about last week's rates. Mr. Japao, how have you been?
I'm alright, Doc. How are you? Good evening, viewers. Welcome.
So what are we discussing today?
There we're discussing financial literacy and investment opportunities.
We know that the country has received something, 20% of NAPSA. Majority of you have gotten. Those of you that haven't gotten the money, kindly go online. We had the program last week discussing how to do that, or go on Facebook and check the NAPSA page. So there's a bit of some liquidity with some, in some households.
How much have they paid up now?
They have paid up over 3 billion. 3 billion, I almost said US dollars, I wish. 3 billion kwacha. And there's something, I would like to admit that I received mine, and immediately I received it, I paid duty for my car. So it came from NAPSA and went to ZRA. So I didn't feel it. So, but anyway, such is life, we have to help the country also to meet salaries towards us. So that said, today we are going to discuss whether what I did was wise or not. In the studio with us today, we shall introduce our guest a bit later, because before we go into today's topic to discuss financial literacy and investment opportunities.
And today's topic is important, eh?
Yes, because of the same. That's why I started with NAPSA. So before we go into the nitty-gritties, we have to see what is happening on the money, capital and commodities market. Over to you.
The market update, 10th of May 2023. The average exchange rate against the four major currencies: the dollar closed selling at 18 kwacha 13 ngwe, the pound closed selling at 23 kwacha 53 ngwe, the euro closed selling at 20 kwacha 77 ngwe, the rand closed selling at 98 ngwe. Collective metal prices delayed by a day: aluminium closed selling at $2,268 per ton, copper closed selling at $8,475, zinc closed selling at $2,623.50, lead closed selling at $2,136.50 per ton, tin closed selling at $25,846 per ton, nickel closed selling at $22,535. Crude oil, WTI crude closed selling at $72.93. Brent crude closed selling at $76.82. That's all we have for the money updates.
We've seen that the kwacha is shedding off its weight. It's becoming lighter versus major currencies. I think 2 weeks ago it was hitting almost 16, and now it's back on the 18. It's losing about 20 ngwe per day. Let's hope that this trend won't continue, because just a few months ago we moved from 15 to 20, almost 22, and then came back. So been speaking to a lot of business persons, and they've been saying that it's very difficult to plan because of uncertainties in the foreign exchange markets. And what is very funny is that when you look at the trend analysis, it's very difficult to see where the fluctuations are coming from, whether government is pumping in forex on the open market, doing open market operations, or we're exporting a lot, or we're demanding so much. So it's not very clear. What do you think?
Or maybe it's market confidence.
Maybe market confidence. I always put that.
Was actually in Paris yesterday, France, meeting the Paris Club.
So it means that the market has more confidence in France. Because the kwacha is losing value. Anyway, back to today's topic. Today we are discussing how a topic that is going to help you how to use a Kasam thing. We are enhancing not economic diplomacy. We are enhancing financial literacy, and also talking about various investment opportunities that you have in the country. So kindly pick up your notepads, your iPads, if you have any, your books, your pencils, your pens, and jot down the ideas that we're going to share in this particular topic. Today with us in the studio to help us digest this wonderful topic is an expert in financial literacy. This person has vast experience in the sector, and she's coming from Stanbic Bank, and this is Chiwala Shichilava. Am I correct?
Very correct, Doc. Very correct.
It's a pleasure. Good evening, and thank you very much for coming at short notice.
Good evening, Doc, and it's good to be here.
Good evening. Welcome.
Thank you so much. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. Thank you.
So, you're appearing for the first time on our program, and, as per tradition, our viewers, who probably want to find out who is, Chiwala, who are you, and what do you do?
Okay, so my name is Chiwala Shichilava. I'm a manager for more markets in personal banking, and worked for Stanbic Bank, be clocking 12 years this year.
Wow.
And I'm an accredited financial fitness trainer. So at Stanbic Bank, obviously we know Stanbic Bank has been in Zambia for over about 50 years, and in Stanbic Bank we're celebrating our 160th year as a group. So we've been in the business for quite a while, and just recently we know we've been speaking financial literacy in the month of March. So we as a bank are also very active in terms of ensuring that we educate the Zambian economy, the Zambian people, on the importance of them becoming financially literate. So we've done it across, not just in the corporate world, but also in the markets and the schools, as well as physically challenged persons. So for us, this is something we're taking very seriously, because we understand that Zambia is our home and we drive her growth. So
there are two things that have caught my attention just now. First, you're a physical trainer, and I started my diet 2 days ago. And I'm always hungry, in a bad mood. I think those I work with now know. Second is that you've been in the field for the last 12 years.
yes.
How has our financial sector basically evolved from the time you began working? Should have been 2011
Wow.
to date.
Yes. So, with the change in technology and all these things that are happening, because it's a digital world that we're trying to get into, and a lot of things have changed. So I remember when we joined the bank, it was, and most of the things were manual, but now we have changed quite a number of things. I must actually brag to say that as Stanbic Bank, we are the only bank in Zambia right now that is offering loans digitally. So you can get a loan within 3 minutes. So which means that before, when I joined the bank, that was 12 years ago now, everything was manual. But now we're seeing all these changes, the cash deposit machines, where now you can deposit your monies on the ATM machine and the accounts get credited immediately. Before, it was you had to put your money in an envelope and then the following day teller counts the money. But things are changing. So I must say that things are changing actually for the better, if I must say. And where we're going, we see that if we just ensure that we have the right knowledge, even as individuals, we can actually embrace the digital, whatever is trying to be done digitally, and ourselves as people. How do we now harness this opportunity? Because sometimes people come in and say, the digital world, maybe people are going to lose jobs, but actually, 12 years ago, I was just a new girl in the block of the bank, but now I still have my job. So which means that it's just about how do I adapt and apply myself to this digital era.
I'm a trainer, so I educate people in the field of finance, banking, economics, banking, and finance. And today I was chatting with my students. I was teaching them on stock markets, and what we observed or what we discussed with the students is that a lot of Zambians, despite even some of them being educated, have very little knowledge about the financial sector.
Yes.
I am a university lecturer. I didn't know that the Lusaka Stock Exchange has an app where you can buy shares. I didn't know that. I was taught today by my students. So in terms of financial literacy, how are we faring in the Republic?
Very good question, Doc. And like you rightly put it, a lot of us probably even myself included, I only got to know about a bank when I had my first job. So it's only the mere truth, because these are things that even from infancy we are not taught. But I always say when we're having these financial literacy sessions to say, the way you train up a child, the way you want them to speak English or Nyanja or Bemba, is the same way actually we should approach the issue of financial literacy. It should be taken from infancy, not at a time when somebody has gone from UNZA, like you said, and then they're now getting into their first job. So which means that the only thing they're going to be thinking about a bank or a financial institution is them coming to the bank to get their salary and withdraw and do deposits. That's it. Meanwhile, there are actually other avenues that they can actually think of in terms of from the time they're probably in their first grade until they're in grade 12, until they go to university. Which means that if now we begin to teach them from a very tender age, it means that we now have a financially literate economy. And I think that is what also even the government of the day is trying to do. They're trying to drive the agenda of having every Zambian financially included. That's why now you've seen they've introduced the syllabus, the financial literacy syllabus in the schools. So which means that at this point as we're speaking, a number of our children are going to be far much better than you and me, Doc, in the next 5 to 10 years. Why? Because they're now being taught the importance of financial literacy at a tender age. So which means that even us as a bank now, we have seen that there's a knowledge gap. Like you've just rightly put it, you didn't know about the stock exchange, the app, until now. I don't want to ask how old you are, Doc, but I'm just like trying to say out
yeah,
there.
that one caught me unaware.
Yeah. So, but if you had learnt about this maybe 10 years ago, how much would you have invested in the stock market by now? So, which means that if we now have people getting the right level of knowledge, it means that we're going to be talking about something whole different in the next 10 years from now.
So when we look at our economy right now, there's an advocacy for entrepreneurship, and of course, if we see our SMEs, they're mostly complaining about access to finance. How is this being done, especially from the banking industry side, so to see that our SMEs, entrepreneurs, have access to these loans?
Okay.
Or if you can, the funding of their businesses, basically.
All right. Thank you very much, Njapao. So, in terms of entrepreneurship, so one thing we always try to encourage customers or even our clients is, I don't think it's a wise decision always to want to start your business on a loan. That's number one. And this is the mistake we normally make. If you're going to go into a business, it should be you shouldn't have the mindset of saying, I want to borrow to make my business grow. But from the idea that you have, because any business starts with the mind and with the idea. So once you have that idea in place, and you start from somewhere, the little that you have. Now, if I was in church, where the Bible says that the man who gave talents to his employees, so there was something they were given, there was an ability they were given, then an idea they were given, and it was up to them to capitalize on it and make it become bigger. So what we normally advise, we have what we call, I'm sitting in the midst of two gentlemen, we have what we call anakazi banking, which is banking for women by women. And what we've seen is that there's been a gap. And if you see, like you actually put it, in terms of SMEs, you find a lot of these SMEs are probably women and then also men. So it's kind of like a balance there. But what we try to do is, because we've seen that the knowledge gap in the women is kind of like a lot, is way too much. So what we've done is we've said we want to give them what we call access to knowledge. So when you come to Stanbic, we have what we call anakazi banking. And we have these forums where we call women from all walks of life. So it doesn't matter whether you're a marketeer from Comesa, City Market, yeah, probably a police officer, you've got your small side hustle, you've got maybe somebody who's in the corporate world in the bank, but they're still got a side hustle. So what we do is that we make them come together and then we speak to them. So what we do when we come to access to knowledge, we tell the women how to maybe write up the business proposals. Because no, it's one thing to have a business idea, but how do you put it down on paper? So a lot of people in Zambia, a lot of our women, even men, they'll have the business in their head, but how do you now put it down on paper? So even when I bring it to Dr. Habazoka here, they'll say, okay, you know what, this is a good business. But if I don't have the knowledge of how to do it, even if you come to Doc, he'll be like, this is nonsense. So if Doc already is going to think it's nonsense, by the time it's coming to the bank, what do you think we're going to think about it? But when we give you, we empower you, we help you and give you the right level of knowledge. So that even when you want to do a business proposal and you want to have access to these loans you're talking about, you're not even going to think about it to say, do I really need to get a loan to drive this business? Or maybe based on the knowledge I got, can I probably work extra hard for the next 2 years and see how my business is going to fare? And then if I have enough cash or enough, I'm liquid enough, I might actually now begin to even invest in the bank and put my money in a fixed deposit. So we need to come out of this mentality of where we need to think that we always have to borrow. But if we begin to have the right knowledge, because remember also, when you have a business idea, what we've seen as well is that these businesses, like I say, like women, atilia shiapansa, because Marina and Jenny and Tom, they gave this business idea, and then you're like, I think this is a big good business idea, but have you really thought about it? So there's ilia shiapansaka, but if you really put it down and say, can I do this? Because it's first you as an individual, can you or do you have the ability to run that business and make it grow? This is where now the financial literacy aspect comes in. Because you can be given, like now there's a CDF that we're talking about, you're empowered. But do you have the right level of knowledge on how to make that business grow, that even when you have to take it back? Are you going to just take back the 10 million kwacha? Or are you going to take back the 10 million and after the 10 million, you would have made another 10 million kwacha on top of that? That is when now we have the difficult questions, and we need to be honest enough. Because if we don't have the honest conversation from the beginning, that's where now you find people say, I'm a loan bank tayapwa. Or no, I borrowed money from the bank and then they came and got my property. And then you ask yourself, say, we got your property. How and why? So sometimes we rush into blaming people, but did we have the right knowledge when we started that business? Senja Pao, I'm going to throw that question back to you. If you're getting into business, have you thought about it? Like, are you game to do that business?
I've seen a lot of write-ups, especially on Facebook, people blaming the lenders and doing what. Where are we not getting it? Is it that people really? How should people understand a decision to go and borrow? When should they borrow, and for what should they borrow?
Exactly, very good question, Doc. If I'm going to borrow, if I've got a business, and because like if you're going to come to us, you have your financials and you have got this tender, probably you've got a tender that you want the bank to help you on. You need to know that, okay, what if this doesn't happen? What if something happens? What is the fallback plan? And I think most people or most businesses or most of us individuals don't want to think of the what if. Because the moment you think of the what if, it's going to help you make the right business decision. Because you're going to come and get a loan and let's say something just goes otherwise. What is your plan B to pay back that loan? So number one thing is having the right level of knowledge and asking yourself the most important questions and even the difficult questions. Sometimes we want to ask ourselves just the what if, but have we asked ourselves the difficult questions? What if I fail to pay back this loan? What happens?
I know your bank is one of the best lenders. I think I've sampled quite a number of banks. I don't want to mention them, and and I've been told that Stanbic actually gives money. What are the tricks? Not tricks even. What are the things or clever things people should do to be able to have maybe like a fallback, to be able to utilize savings, to be able to get money? For example, one of my bankers told me that they called me. We've seen you've gotten a huge amount of money in your account. Probably you received this. I said, yes, I've been paid for this. Then they said, why don't you put it in a fixed deposit account? No. This one I'm taking for building. They said, no, put it in a fixed deposit account. Then against it, get a loan. And then go and use the loan to do whatever you're doing. Then there you'll be paying back as time goes. But that money at the end of the loan will still be there. If you fail to pay, maybe it comes to the same thing. So what other clever things, what in terms of financial literacy, what mistakes do we make, what should we do, to be able to cleverly use the financial system to, enhance our livelihoods? Okay,
so number one is what we need to avoid is borrowing for expenditure, like for luxury. That's number one. So if you're going to borrow, and like you rightly put it, that you put money in a fixed deposit, but then the question that will be there is, if you're going to put money in a fixed deposit, was the purpose of getting the loan to put the money in a fixed deposit? That's the number one question. So if you've got no use for the money, because sometimes with maybe interest rates have dropped and you want to take advantage of that because maybe the next time, maybe after 3 years, the interest rates are going to go up. So you're trying to play around, like you said. How do you go around that? And just so that's another way you could do it, because the money you get, maybe you get the interest rate is maybe at 20% now. You get it at 20%. Maybe 3 years from now, the interest rate will be maybe 31%. So which means that if you got that money at 20% and you're fixing a fixed deposit, then meaning that you're safe. That's another safe way. And the other way that you rightly put it, you want to go and build. Sometimes you ask yourself, like, if you're going to get that money and you want to build, is that money that you've gotten enough to build that property until it's going to return an investment for you? Because it's one thing to start and then you've reached at the roof level, then you get stuck, which means that the money you got for the loan is stuck in that property. And then sometimes where we miss it and then we're like, but I got a loan and then it start more business. But that's why we ask now the question to say, as you've gotten this property, what is your other side hustle that is going to help you in case you get stuck by roof level? How do you now make sure that you reach until the intended purpose that you got that money for is achieved? If you don't have that plan, normally what we're suggesting as we're having financial literacy is to say, sit back first, calculate. What am I going to do? What is your plan? That's why when we're having our financial literacy sessions, which normally takes about 90 minutes, we normally advise to say, what is your end game? Think about the end in mind. As you are starting, the number one thing, the philosophies we have, we based our wealth philosophy on 5 beliefs. When we say number one, start with the end in mind. If your end in mind is to say, you want to build 5 houses in the next 5 years, start with the 5 houses in the mind. By the time you're getting to 5 years, you should have at least said, I have the 5 houses. Are they on roof level? Are they on foundation? At least you have a plan. Then the number 2 is to say, wealth is a lifelong journey. Doc, today, like I said again, I don't want to ask how old you are. You didn't become wealthy just overnight. There was a process. Even the richest man, there was a process. But sometimes we want too many instant things. Or because Jabao has got a Prado, you also want a Prado.
This one normally puts me under pressure.
You see, so
buying
maybe,
new stuff.
Exactly. So because it's got a new wristwatch and you bought it for 5,000 kwacha and you're like, I also want that watch. But you've not asked the question to say, how did Jabao get to that level of getting that watch? Maybe he's invested in, for the past 5 years he's been investing. But then because I'm just this new guy and I want to get that watch as well, I never thought about how Jabao got it. So we always say that wealth is a lifelong journey. And then also, what I deem as wealthy is not what you might determine as wealth. So wealth is relative. For some people, wealth is their health. Some people, wealth is their children. And also we say that risk is relative. That's the 4th one. So risk is relative. What you may determine as risky, it might not be what I might determine as risky. Then we also say that you and your family are unique. So which means that whatever I'm doing, Doc, I don't know where you're coming from, Jabao, I don't know where you're coming from, and you don't know where I'm coming from. If you see me driving a Vitz, you don't judge me because I'm driving a Vitz. And if I see you driving a Hummer, I shouldn't judge you because you're driving a Hummer. Because where you have gotten it from, and your desires and your needs are different from mine. My kids probably are, I've got 5 kids, maybe he doesn't have a child, that's why he can probably afford a Hummer. But me, I can only afford a Vitz. And I'm looking at the fuel consumption. So he doesn't think about fuel because
he wants a filling station.
He wants a filling station, you see what I mean? But me, I'm thinking about fuel because I've got 5 kids and I'm thinking, say, for my children to be able to live comfortably, I don't need to become luxurious. So me and my family are unique. So even as we are out there, viewers, let us remember this. Even if you're going to get a loan, don't get a loan because my neighbor now has sent a loan. Even if you're coming to get a loan and then you're saying, I know I want to drive a Vitz. Are you really sure you can afford a Vitz? Because remember, the Vitz has got maintenance, has got all these things. So we are saying that even as we are giving these loans and you're going to come and get them, think of how to make that money. Think about what is it you're getting it for as an individual. Because remember, you're coming to get that money as an individual. And you're paying it back as an individual. And those tricks that are going to come in, you have to make sure that they're paying back. You need to find the trick of how to pay it back as an individual. Whatever it is you're doing. So remember, wealth is about you as an individual. Even that loan that you're getting. Yeah.
So right now there's like over 3 billion in the economy coming from the 20% NAPSA withdrawal.
Something.
One of the people who's received something is actually just a clarification.
But it's finished.
He's the one who's buying new things and putting me under.
Oh wow! So it's actually vice versa.
It's the opposite.
Something is already finished.
And you know, when you look at the situation, a lot of people are rushing to go and get something without having a plan on what they want to use it for. You know, there's no business idea. Maybe they have got no property that they can push it into so it can get completed. You know, what would be the advice to these people?
Okay, very good question, Japal. I think the something is really interesting. Eh? Everyone is talking about it. Like 98,000 Zambians have gotten something. That's almost, we're getting to 100,000. And that's about 3 billion out there in the economy.
I think the bank is also benefiting from this transaction.
Exactly. Some people are opening accounts now. So,
oh yeah.
Because remember, there have to be accounts, others are getting it through mobile monies and all that kind of thing. But to be honest with you, if we think about it critically, like we said, when we joined whatever institutions we're in, we started contributing NAPSA the same time, when we joined the organizations, whichever organizations we're with. And in the mind, it was that we'll get it when we are 55. But now it's going to 60 years. Now that's optional, the 60 years. So which means that now the 20% has come in. It's like, what has happened? All of a sudden there's money. And then a young person like me, I'm like, hey, Kasambi. Then there's Doc here, who's almost that side, and he's like, okay, my Kasambi has come. What am I supposed to do? Do I get excited? Do I begin just to spend it? Or what are my plans? So, number one thing that we're encouraging, before you get the Kasambi, it's not running away. And I'm sure even the last conversation was held here. It's not running away. It's still ongoing. Someone can even come and get it even next year.
Yes.
You see what it is? So because everyone else is doing it, we all want to do it. Thinking that maybe shikapwa. But it's not going anywhere. But the question is, as you are getting it, what is the plan? Have you thought about what you want to do? So if you don't have a plan yet, it's about time to start thinking of, say, what is my goal? Remember, starting with the end in mind. Because when this money was being deducted, the intended purpose was for it to be taken when you were 55.
Yes.
But then you're getting it now. Do you have a plan for it? Have you made a budget? And I think one of the most important things we need to understand now is how to make a budget. Most of us think that a budget is your expenditure list. When you go to ShopRite, you've written your thing, you can list down. That's not a budget. That is the expenditure list. So if we've been thinking that what we've been doing is a budget, no, it's not a budget. What you've simply been doing is an expenditure list. What a budget is your income minus your expenses. That is what a budget is. So as long as you are not accounting for what is coming in and accounting for what is going out, you're not making a budget. You are just simply expensing all that is coming into your account. So what is important to do is that when this money has come in, sit down, have a plan. What is the plan around that 20%? Because it is there. It has come if you've gotten it. Some of the options that we come and give as when you come to us as a financial institution, there's the issue of fixed deposits. You can make that money grow. Because remember, it has grown. There's the percentage that's given us on top of that 20% that we've gotten. So there's some money that you're getting. Put it back into a fixed deposit and let it grow for you. Someone will think and say, but Chiwala, I have just gotten interest on it. They're saying again, I'm going to put in a fixed deposit. This is for someone who doesn't have a plan for it. Because remember, if you do not make a plan for money, money will make a plan for you.
Yeah.
So if you don't make a plan for money...
Weekend is always making plans for us.
Friday, man on Friday, shippo.
Yes.
Before you know it, you have become the biggest buyer in town. And all I think of is the Friday weekend has come, black table. Now they even know you even changed your status, you've changed your WhatsApp status. Now even the way you're drinking from has changed. Even where you're hanging out from has changed. Why? Because money has started making a plan for you. You're now thinking, you say, where am I going to spend this money? It's weekend. Now even the shopping list has changed. You were buying things from Kamala Market. All of a sudden you're now going to Manda Hill.
Taste just changed.
You know, my little experience has confirmed that we have a lot of people doing some business, but they don't. You know, you just mentioned that people are coming to open accounts,
Yes.
able to get an answer. People don't want to formalize. What are the benefits of, doing business in the white, not in the black, but where you have formalized, you have an account, and what are the benefits?
Number one, accountability. And for you to easily manage what your expenses are and your income is. Because remember, when you get your statement on the account, you have your credits, you have your debits. So when you look at that, it's able to show you what you have made in that particular month, and even just for you, in terms of what we call credit reference. Because every one of us has an NRC, and if you want to go and borrow, there is the reference bureau. So if you're going to come and borrow, it's easy for us to give you money for someone who will put a track record. But for someone who just comes in, Japan will just come and say, I want to start a business. Where do we start from? Where do we trust you from? Because you can just say, no, I'm going to keep my money under the mattress. But who knows that there's money under the mattress? Apart from you and your husband and the children. And then also the risk of that. Someone can just come in, steal the money. And even now, remember the floods that happened. Floods just come in, all your money is wet. Yeah. Or just anything happens, there's a fire. All the money is gone. But if there's an account, we are able to track all your expenses. And even just for the sake of you borrowing at some point, it's easy for you to do that. But whereas there is no accountability, there is no reference, it becomes tricky. And even like you said, the business you want to grow that business. How does someone know that your credit worthiness? Because for anyone that wants to borrow from any institution, they need to see their track record. That is why we ask for bank statements for the past 6 months. But if you just want to come in and say, oh, I've been banking for the past 1 month, how do we trust you? Even you yourself, how can you just come to someone? How can you give money that you've worked hard for? Just like that on Silver Place, because they've said, no, you trust me, my wage is my, what do they say, my wage is my...
My wage is my, not collateral, my what? There's that saying, yes.
Yes, there's that saying which says, you trust my wage.
No, I know these things.
And I know these things, I've done them before. I said business a long time ago, but there's no reference. How do we know that you are a gazetted business person and we can trust you? So all those things need to be put in context. So the benefits, what we need to emphasize on is it's easy for us to know who you are. That's why the know your customer comes in. It's easy for us to even make recommendations to other organizations on your behalf. Like, people come and say they want a letter of guarantee. How do we guarantee you when we don't have any business, any track record of who you are? So all those things.
So that's on the letter of guarantee. On this, what is it, and how does your institution give it, and what are the benefits? It's very important for me. And the business persons that are watching, these are things that we want to hear.
So what we can actually do for you,
yes.
viewers out there, today we're actually discussing financial literacy.
Yes.
And the letter of guarantees, visit our branches. So we have got 29 branches across. And even the toll-free numbers, the 8200 call center. Then also for businesses, we have dedicated enterprise direct banking consultants. So you call them, they're actually desk-bound. You call Quadro 8. And you have somebody on the other end to address all these things. Because letter of guarantees are given to businesses. And there's a list of requirements that are required for us to be able to give you a letter of guarantee. And this is actually done for our customers. So if you're an account holder with Stanbic under our small medium enterprise, you can actually do that. For personal account holders, we might not be able to give a letter of guarantee, but then we have reference letters. Mm-hmm. But those are only given to our account holders. And if you're going to come for us for a reference letter, we need to have your account with us.
That was about guarantees. Now, there's also the other aspect of financial literacy. A lot of people doing business. I'm telling you, our viewers are very much interested in business, starting businesses, doing entrepreneurship. How can people take use of your free training in financial literacy? How do you? Where can they find you?
So they can actually visit our branches, like I said, and what we are doing, the Anakazi Banking. So we can visit our Anakazi Banking page on Facebook. and also visit our website. And also on our Stanbic Bank page is actually right there. So we're actually encouraging our customers, visit the Stanbic Bank page on Facebook as well as on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter and also on Instagram. So we're actually encouraging a lot of our customers, our women banking customers, even those that want to join Stanbic Bank. We are saying that Stanbic Bank and the Anakazi banking is banking for women by women. So when we have these training sessions, we actually send them on our page. So on our next program, which we're going to be having soon, we're going to actually call it to the public. So actually, Jabal, if you don't mind, can actually come and talk about it when we have our next session. So that even your wives can actually benefit from it. Because when we talk about Anakazi banking,
He's not married.
oh, okay. When he's about to get married, even his fiancé. So you know, when it comes to the Anakazi banking, there's a whole lot of things that actually most of our customers don't understand. So for the women, did you know that when you are Anakazi banking, you're actually able to insure your vehicle for 3%? Comprehensive insurance for women. So which means that this is access to insurance, access to knowledge, access to finance. So then if you, Dr. Havazuka, your wife, she can actually insure on your behalf through Stanbic and Anakazi banking. So which means that all these things, we can actually be able to offload them when they come and attend these sessions. Then also, the other access to knowledge we're talking about, now we're talking about the 20% still in line with that. People didn't know that actually they could actually buy a government bond for as low as 1,000 kwacha in treasury bills. So meaning people out there think that a treasury bill, a government bond, have to have so much money. But actually, with that 20% you have, just put aside a 5 pin and put in a government bond. So if you want to know more about this, dial 8200 and you'll be able to be contacted.
Speaking of our bonds, there's this analysis that I know Doc has got some experience in construction. I'm sure you built some. When you look at the fixed deposit account and its returns, let's say you have something slightly above $1 million, maybe 600,000, and you have got this option to either go into constructing a house or actually put it in a fixed deposit account, and bearing in mind that this construction you're embarking on is for business purposes. It's a house that you want to put on rent, and you have to compare it to a fixed deposit, the returns on a fixed deposit account. And what are the rates in the fixed deposit account?
So that's a very good question. So you see, with fixed deposits, this is a more secure way of you investing your money. So there are options. So others would think probably getting into a house, real estate is more secure for them, because remember, it is what works for you. So if one would think of putting in a fixed deposit, so our rates will vary between 4 to about 12%, somewhere there, depending on the tenor. That is if you want to invest maybe for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and 275 days, and up to 365 days. So the interest rates are going to vary. Even the returns are going to vary. Because remember, it's what you put in that is going to determine how much you're going to get. That's the thing. The other thing, in terms of construction, if you're going to put up a house for rentals, it also depends on where you are building that property. Because building a property in, for example, Kanyama, and you build a house in Chalala, the returns are different. But the same 600 pin.
Yes.
Someone was saying.
So you see.
So me, I go and build property in Ndola. I was a copper belt there. Now I live in Lusaka, and I'm thinking, what was I thinking about? The same price. In fact, Lusaka is even cheaper to build than the copper belt. You spend the same amount of money. I'm not saying Ndola is bad or one side is bad.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if you ask me to go and build somewhere else, I wouldn't build. Anyway, if you live in that particular, if you spend money in a particular town, and you live there, maybe you can build because you're expert. If you live in Osaka and you go and build in Petauke, you probably will be making losses because the expenses are different. You know,
Yes.
I just want to say some of the mistakes I've made in my life.
So you see, that's very true. So that's why when we're doing the financial literacy aspect, we normally say when you're doing an investment, you need to take all these conditions you need to put them into reality. Put them down, say, okay, I'm going to build a house. Where am I building? Good example, 600,000. You want to put into construction, or one wants to put in a fixed deposit. You see, how much am I going to make on a fixed deposit? That is why it's important, before you make any financial decision, contact your banker. Because when you come to the bank, we have customer consultants, you visit maybe their website. Even now, there's information out there. That's why it's important that we have access to knowledge before you make any financial decision. Do you have the right level of knowledge? You want to put money in a fixed deposit. What is your return? Like Dr. Mahazoka spoke about the stock market today. If it's going to buy stock shares in the market, what is his return? Has he weighed the risk? Remember we spoke about the 5 philosophies we speak about? Risk is relative. Someone might think probably buying shares in the stock market is risky. Meanwhile, someone would think, actually it's a better business. Someone would think, maybe, let me go and buy fixed deposit, let me put in a fixed deposit. For me, it's okay. Someone would think, maybe, let me go and invest in a house. So it's, at the end of the day, it's what works for you. You weigh the risks, you weigh the options. What are the odds? If I get 600,000, put in a construction, or if I get 600,000, I buy shares, or 600,000, I probably put in the bank, and I buy government bonds. Because remember, you can stagger the bonds. Because remember, there's the coupons that you get every 6 months. So all those things, this is information which we're now saying that don't just sit there at home with the 20% you've gotten, but visit the bank. There are options you have. You can buy treasury bills, you can buy government bonds, you can put in a fixed deposit. All those things. Not just having that money and say, now I've gotten this money, number shape of administrator number, tabakali for 20%. No, these things are happening. Because now they are saying, oh no, I'm getting this money because I don't want the administrator to get my money. But you're forgetting that you're going to still get to 55 years. And how are you going to live when you get to 55 years? What investment did you put with that 20%? Because by the time you get into 55 years, and that 20%, if you're putting it in a bond, how much money are you going to make out of it? And as Stanbic was saying that we're able to help you buy the bonds on your behalf when you open that account with your 20%.
As we wind up.
Maybe you can sum this up. Of course, we've touched on a number of things, but I think as one plans for retirement, of course, there are things that you've touched on. But just to sum it up as your last words, how should people plan for their retirements and what they're supposed to do?
Jabal, that's a very good question, and very. I think just to sum it up, retirement shouldn't be thought about when you are 50 years. That's the mistake most of us people have made. We think about retirement when we're about to retire. And to be honest with you, this is a conversation we need to start having when we start our first job. Like if I said my first job when I was at the age of, I'm not going to say how old I am, but I started work very, very young. And I
at the age of,
you can fill in the dots.
Yeah.
For those that know me, obviously they can fill in the dots on my behalf. But this is a conversation I didn't have within myself. But I'm in my 30s, and I'm now thinking about retirement. So it's important to start thinking about retirement when you are very young. So for the young people out there, the young Zambians out there, we know Zambia has got a very young population. Let us not think about retirement when we are 50 years old. Because remember, we spoke about risks. Some people, when they get their last money at 55 years, pension, and they want to think of real estate, or maybe they want to do this business, these investments, and then imagine, all of a sudden, COVID, no one planned for COVID, and people had businesses, had put in money, offshore, cross-border trading. No, my container is coming. Then from nowhere, the container is not coming because everything has been blocked. And then imagine you're 55 years, Asia pension issue. And then what happens? Do you know the reason why a lot of people in their 55 or 60 heart attacks yala fulasan is because that is the last money they got. And they are now thinking, oh, that same money is what I need to start into a business. No.
And you find most of them have never even done a business before.
Exactly. You don't have a plan. You don't have a business proposal. Or you think of it, say, my retirement package has come and I need to go into business. We'll have so many heart attacks. Dr. Abazoka, please.
I heard that, I don't know who told me that story. There's a gentleman who told me a story that one man gets their pension.
Yes.
Then they take two friends to say, let's go and buy a minibus in Durban. So as they go to Durban, they disembark in Johannesburg. Then they say, okay, let's have one or two drinks. Tomorrow we proceed to Durban. Then they go to a place called the Summit. Legends know what I'm talking about. So Suddenly, all over, they become millionaires there, and they say, no, we are not leaving tomorrow, we will leave the following day. So they stayed in Johannesburg for like a week, and that's how they came back with nothing. So that's why when I wrote an article 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, about how people should use their money, I'm saying, if you are less than 40 years,
Yes.
you are less than 40 years, say you are 30 years, and you have been working since you were 20 or 19, for example, you have accumulated maybe 50p of a payout. Sometimes you need to go and see the world. You have time to start over, all over. Like from 30, you can contribute up to 55. That would be 25 years. So it's like you are making your pension from scratch.
Yes.
So I just encourage people to avoid what you are talking about. Just
Yes.
get a ticket, go to Cape Town, go and have a nice time. That way you are going to be more motivated to make more money so that you can go back, because you can't wait for another pension to go back to Cape Town. So you start making more money so that you can go and enjoy that same life. So for that category of citizens, the young ones, you can go and do that. But for those of us that are, whose retirement is just there and there, we can't make mistake with this money.
You can't afford to make a mistake. That's, I think, even in closing, in Japan, we can't afford to make mistakes. It's important to play it safe when you are at a risky age. But for us young ones, you and me, we can like Doc said, but we're not saying that we should go to Dubai, if Durban, but we're saying that live and enjoy responsibly. And as much as you can be young, because remember, even like the Bible says that enjoy your youth, but remember you need to account for it, because the years that are coming when you're going to grow older, how are you going to account for the years that you've spent as a youth? So whatever it is you're doing, you need to live responsibly. Even as a bank, we're saying that even as we are lending out money, we want to lend responsibly. That is why when you come and get a loan from us, we're not just going to give it to you anyhow. But we need to make sure that, why is it you're getting this money? Do you have a plan for it? Is it just to go on because it was never send them a loan, which panda? Or because you've got a good plan for it? So as you're thinking about retirement, think about it from a very tender age. Don't think about it when you're 55 years, because at the end of the day, we are all going to retire. No one is going to stay in employment for forever. But when you retire, what is your plan? Invest in your passions. Don't just be that person who is working, you have got no hobby, you've got no passion. What is your passion? From the time you are young, you can have a job like this, we are bankers, yes. But I'm not going to be a banker until I'm 70 years. At 55 years, I'm going to be retiring. What is going to be spoken about me after I'm long gone? That's why we talk about share and legacy in our financial literacy journey. So what we're saying is that whatever we're doing, let's remember there's still tomorrow. And how we plan for it, it matters. We don't start planning when we are at 50. We start planning now. Because planning to fail is failing to plan. So every time we think about it, let us plan so that we can become successful. Because success starts in the mind. And at Stanbic Bank, we're saying it can be, and so can you, as long as you make the right financial decisions.
Ladies and gentlemen, moi you feel like you mbakstila tabala ndasa na into what came from all of you for patu no na pa fingita confre. For those of you that don't understand Bemba, by the way, I'm not being tribalistic because I'm not Bemba. We're just trying to say that a lot of words have been said today, and those that haven't heard, from the little words that we have spoken today, they won't hear from lots of words. And also, you don't say much because you can insult a king. But before we go, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our guests for coming, my co-host, Mr. Noah Njapao, and to ask our guests to go and lobby for us to sponsor this wonderful program, because it's aimed at doing financial literacy in the country. I hope you won't be fired for me lobbying on TV. You're watching Economic Briefcase on Camnet TV. Continue watching Camnet TV, because Camnet TV is not just another channel. Bye-bye.